We will get started in less than a minute. It is 4 p.m. on Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. I want to call the Iowa City Conference Board agenda to order. Roll call, please.
Iowa City Council members, Alter,
Here.
Burgess,
Here.
Harmson,
Here.
Moe,
Here.
Sully,
Here.
Teague.
Here.
Johnson County Supervisors present, Green Douglas,
Here.
Fixmer Ores, Green, Remington, Sullivan.
Here.
And Iowa City Board of Education, Eastham,
Here.
Abraham.
Here.
Everybody's here?
All right. Well, welcome to everyone that is up here. A little different for those that are in the audience. We will have our work session after this. We're going to move on to item number C, which is motion to approve minutes of February 4, 2025, the conference board meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved by the county, seconded by the city, and roll call.
School.
Oh, school board.
Board.
Okay. All right, school board. Seconded by the city, is that correct?
No. Moved by the county, second by school board. Right.
Moved by county, second by school board.
Got it. Moved by county, seconded by school board. Great, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Sully,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Green Douglas,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Eastham,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We're on to item number D, fiscal year 2025 budget, and I'm going to turn this over to you.
Yeah, I really didn't have anything to add from our first meeting, and in order to keep things brief, if anybody has questions about the budget, I'd be happy to answer.
All right. Hearing none, of course, the purpose of this meeting is to hold a public hearing on the Iowa City's assessor's proposed budget for fiscal year 2026. If there is no comments by this body, could I get a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2026?
Move to adopt.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so that was moved by the city, seconded by the
School.
school. All right, school board. All right, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Alter, Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Sully,
Yes.
Teague,
Here? Yes.
Green Douglas,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Eastham,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We're on to E, schedule the next conference board meeting for the assessor reappointment. The suggested date is September 16th, 2025.
I'd like to move that we schedule the next conference board meeting for assessor reappointment on September 16, 2025.
Second.
All right, moved by the school board, seconded by the county. Any other comments, any other suggestions? All right.
I'll just add, it used to be that you could reappoint me at this meeting. There was a legislation change in I'm not sure what year it was, but now it needs to be, and I should have looked this up before I got here. There's a certain time frame that it needs to fit in, and that September 16th fits it in
Sure.
there. So I think it needs to be 90 days before my reappointment would officially begin.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
For City Council, Alter,
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Sully,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Supervisors Green Douglas.
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
School Board, Eastham,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
All right, we're on to item number F, board comments.
Just real quickly, I just wanted to remind everybody, I think it's kind of a rare opportunity to get to say this, but there are a few quantitative measures of how well this office does, and they're at the very top of the state. in every single possible measure. And as somebody who shares a campus with them as well, they're a pleasure to work for. I think we're very lucky to have Brad and his team.
Great. Agreed. All right. We're going to move on to item number G, which is adjournment. Could I get a motion, please?
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved by the school board. And I'm going to give it to, oh, were you first? All right, we're going to give it to the city. All right.
Slow on all the other
Yes, all right. And roll call, please.
City Council, Alter.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Salih.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Supervisors, Green Douglas.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
School Board, Eastham.
Yes.
Abraham.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Take long. Who made that last?
Good one, Charlie.
Early. Okay, I got it.
Charlie. Charlie, school district. Yeah,
Thank you.
yell into the mic. You too.
Hey, how are you?
You're like, I need my spot. I know.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to call the City of Iowa City work session to order for March 11, 2025. It is about 4:06 p.m. And the first item on our agenda is clarification of agenda items. Hearing none. We're going to move on to information package, which is item number 2. We'll start with February 20th.
I would like to ask a question about IP2, February 20, the memo from the grant specialist, the American Rescue Plan update. I was curious about the remaining expended dollars in that ARPA funds, and what, if anything, our professional city staff has thinking about the current federal administrations going back on some of these. Is this funding that the city has actually received, or that we get reimbursed for once the projects are complete?
The ARPA funds have already been received, and they've already been fully obligated. So we feel very confident in this particular grant source. Not all of them, but this particular one.
Okay. There's no de-obligation concern.
No.
We're going to move on to information packet, February 27th.
I had comments and questions about IP4. First comment, this is the annual comprehensive financial report. First comment is congratulations to staff on their certificate of excellence on their procedures in accounting. Regardless of whether it's good news or bad news, we have to be able to trust whatever that news is, and that's a good way that outside people give us a nice indication that our staff is doing great work, and good. Thank you for that. Just a couple of things, and maybe I don't know if Jeff, if you can, or somebody else can speak to, but there's kind of sort of a mixed bag, if I'm interpreting this report correct. One of them talking about the economic recovery since COVID-19, and then also talking about some of the economic headwinds or challenges. I was wondering if you could maybe shed a little light on a couple of those issues.
Yeah, are you mostly focusing on the statistics
Yes.
section there?
Yes.
Yeah, so when we talk about the headwinds with recovery, just remember, I think the most important thing to remember is the property taxes are primary revenue source for many of our operations, not all of them, but many of them. During the 2020-21 timeframe, we didn't see a lot of development activity. That's not unique to Iowa City. There was just a general economic slowdown as there was a lot of uncertainty in the world. And property taxes have about a 2-year lag. So when we have lower periods of building activity, that means we're not adding to the tax base at that time, but you don't really feel that pain, if you will, until about 2 years later. So we're in that 23 to 25 range, where we're seeing low growth from the lack of building in that time. And that's makes it tough just to keep up with status quo operations. So we generally tell you that we need about 4% per year just to keep up with status quo. That's to keep the same staffing levels, benefit levels, all those types of things. And we've certainly hit a period in which we're not making that mark right now. We have seen a recovery in those building permits the last couple of years, starting to look more like pre-COVID times. But again, we won't feel that for another couple of years. The other headwinds really deal with the 2023 state legislative property tax reforms and some of those changes. We're required to, we lost 2 of our property tax levies, one that supports the library and the other our emergency levy. Those are phased out through 2029, so we've already had to shed some of our property tax levy rate, and we have about $1.5 million to $2 million worth to, left to cut out of that levy rate until we can reach the 2029 levels that the state has set. So kind of a combination of lower revenue production and at the same time pressures from the state or mandates from the state to reduce our property taxes.
Thank you.
Any other items from February 27th? Moving on to March 6th. Hearing nothing, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is number 3, University of Iowa governmental updates. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I've got a couple announcements for you guys tonight. First things first, last week we hosted 5 alumni for a alumni senate. These were alumni from the University of Iowa who had served in either the undergraduate student government or the graduate professional student government. So it was just some time for us to network, hear about their career paths, how student government impacted them, how things on campus have changed, how things in Iowa City have changed. They mentioned, one bar that used to exist down here that was like multiple stories. They all miss it very much. Our renter's guide is actually done now. It's currently live on our website. Due to some time constraints this year, it is very pared down, and we also probably won't be presenting it in council, but I really encourage you all to go look at it. We've been in contact with our lovely nighttime mayor to see about getting some of our promotional flyers put up in some bars in downtown Iowa City, just to make sure that our students can get home safely. And last but not least, on the 26th of this month, student government is going to Des Moines to meet with some legislators and advocate. So,
Great, thank you. And wishing all the students the best during, I would call them midterms, I guess, and safe travels during spring break next week for those that are traveling. And our nighttime mayor is here, Joe Riley, so happy to have him in the building. Thank you. We also wanted to acknowledge that Matthew Monsivais is here, and so I wanted to just present this certificate of appreciation from the City of Iowa City to you for your thoughtful contributions during the 2024 through 2025 year of service as the City Council Liaison and alternate liaison from the University of Iowa Undergraduate Student Government, USG, and for demonstrating your commitment to the student participation on this 4th day of February 2025, because that was your last day. And so I want to thank you for all that you've done. And I'm going to ask council that we quickly come up and take a picture with Matthew. I'm going to move to item number 5 on our agenda just so that we can get that complete. And this is council updates on assigned boards, commissions, and committees.
February 25th, there was a Seats Paratransit Advisory Committee meeting. Just as a reminder, the ARPA funding ended on December 6th for that. Still seeing about 500 and 550 seats rides each weekday. They are also having troubles with their electric buses, so looking for some support with that, and also having challenges with staffing. So finding bus drivers and electric buses that work in the cold, there's a challenge for them. Also, Trip Connect came and talked about that program, which I think we've talked a lot about, but just for those who don't know, Trip Connect is a service that's a point-to-point service that you can schedule ahead. It's for people who need to find travel to their work or to childcare during a time when the bus service is not operating. Additionally, I guess last night, the 10th, was the comprehensive plan meeting. Councilor Alter and I were there. We got a great 90 minutes of discussion about basically community statistics. The process is working well. They'll come to City Council to present.
I believe it's in May.
Yeah, May, and then the next comp plan meeting is not until July for the larger group. Anything about that meeting?
I think just that they are starting phase 2, which is to put the word out and get community input. They're entering into that. And just as a side note, the thing that was so fantastic about the presentation last night was really seeing how the overlays of different statistics actually all feed into the ways in which, the city needs to think about land use in the future, as well as by looking backwards and just seeing sort of current state as well as in the past in terms of everything from market numbers for houses to amount of renters, the type of housing, income, but then the demographics of people, and it was a fascinating presentation. So.
Yeah.
For the Rule Committee, we met last week, and I think the Climate Action Commission, they need like some kind of like really minor change. They just want to amend the first sentence of the Article 4 for membership and to read the chairperson and the vice chairperson will be elected annually, but we added in December. And from the commission, of course, from the commission membership. Also, they amended Article 4, membership, Section H, absent, to read the 3 consecutive. It used to be unexplained, absent, but now it will be, we took out the unexplained. It will be absent without, like notification. That's it. And it was quick.
I actually have a question because I attended a board meeting, but it was not an assigned board. Is it better for me to wait until just council updates, or?
Yes, you can wait till council updates at our formal meeting. All right, great. Anything else? Hearing nothing, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is 21 South Lynn, presentations and discussions. And we have 2 of our colleagues that are going to recuse themselves, Councilor Alter and Councilor Moe. All right, we're going to move forward with our discussion, and I'm going to welcome our City Manager, Jeff Rowan, to get us started.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Excited to be here again with 21 South Lynn on the agenda. But before we get started, some late-breaking news that'll alter a little bit how we move forward tonight. Let me give you a little bit of context and background before we jump into this. So from the outset of this, from the outset of the purchase of the property that we made in August of 2023, we've pledged to try to be very transparent with the development of the RFP, very transparent with and fair in the selection of a preferred development team. Right now, you can go onto the project website, which is icgov.org/21 South Lynn, and you can actually go back and watch those December 2023 presentations. You can find public input information, the RFP document, the full submittals from all three of the teams and the staff analysis on there. So just for the public that's watching, all of that information is out there. The last time you all met was February 4th on this topic, was February 4th at the work session, and you invited all three respondents to present their proposals in person here tonight. Earlier today, we received an update from two of the respondents, Salida Partners and Iceberg, that they've decided to merge their responses into a single proposal. I guess in the spirit of that transparency and fairness, we just want to say that staff has not reviewed any of the details behind the merged proposal, but we understand that it's combining aspects of both of those proposals, which of course are available on the website. A detailed analysis of that merged proposal, similar to what was conducted with the original submittals, is warranted as it relates to the stated RFP requirements, but particularly the financial aspects of the project. The backing information of the merged proposal should be provided publicly, just at that same level of detail as those three initial proposals. And doing so will not only inform you, but keep the public informed through this process as well, and help us meet that pledge to be very transparent through this process. We did reach out to the third group, which you'll hear from tonight, the Grand Rail Urban Acres OPN team, make sure that they had a comfort level presenting tonight, knowing that there was a change, and a slight change in the plan here, and they did indicate that they were comfortable proceeding tonight. So the recommendation for tonight for you all is to receive 2 presentations, not 3. And limit your questions to those that are seeking clarifications or just improving your understanding of these proposals. I'd recommend that you not wade into selection tonight, and that you wait till we have some of that full public information and some of the staff analysis available for you to lean on and for the public to be able to review and provide comment to you all if they so choose. After the conclusion of the presentations tonight, what we would do going forward is staff would ask for the necessary kind of background information on the merge proposal so that we can run that analysis. If the third team, the Grand Rail Urban Acres team, presents anything new, we'd ask for information to support that as well. We'd make that, again, information public, and then suggest you carry on with your selection decision either April 1st or April 15th. And of course, you can take as much time as you want, but we're just trying to make sure that the public and you all have all of the information that you need, and that the selection process has been transparent. So we are excited to move forward. It's a little bit different plan to have 2 present instead of the 3, but I wanted to give you that background. I'm happy to answer questions, but if you're ready to proceed, we did randomize the order of presentation, and the Salida Iceberg team will be presenting first, followed by the Grand Rail Urban Acres team.
That all sounds good. A quick question. I know we had originally discussed having each presentation being 20 minutes long, timed, followed by 10 minutes for questions from the council. Is that still the plan in order to have?
Yeah,
these
I would recommend keeping it at that 20 minutes. And we will have a little bit extra time if the council wants to expand their 10 minutes a little bit, but the team's prepared for 20, and I'd suggest you keep it at that.
And just like for the public, we're saying that we're going to have only 2 present. Can you just explain why? Because for the benefit of the public, because everybody is expecting 3, and now it's 2.
Yeah, I'll have to let the Salida Partners and the Iceberg teams talk about what drew them together, because I'm not up to speed on that either. But that's essentially what we have here, is 2 of the teams have connected and merged into one.
Okay. Yes, for the benefit of the public.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so who's going first through the randomized?
The Iceberg Salida Partners.
All right, we're going to invite you all up at this time. And now, Kelly, do we have the timer so they can see it? So All right. Welcome and happy to have you all here. Let us start once you say hello.
Hello. Okay, let's start. My name's Steve Long with Salida Partners, and I have with me,
Jim Bergman with Iceberg Development.
and we'll get to the rest in a minute here, but we can explain a little bit what's been going on. Jim, Riley, and we're partners in the redevelopment of the ACT property, that 400-acre property. And after the last week, we submitted independently proposals. And after the last work session, and again, listening to the work session, we realized that we each had our own strengths. And I don't know if it's weaknesses, but definitely strengths. I'd say Salida Partners was heavily focused on the benefits of the community as a whole. And Iceberg was definitely affordable housing focused, and that's Jim's background.
That's what I've been doing for 35 years, so obviously my project was focused in large part on the affordable housing component.
So we decided to start talking, and we feel it's best for the community to merge the community benefit and the affordable housing benefit. And we have a strong partnership. We actually merged the two architecture teams, which is I don't want to say unprecedented, but they're
Unusual.
Unusual. Working with us. We're all putting aside our own, I don't want to say egos, but there's none of that involved. This is truly for the community, and we've had a good time the past week or so talking this through, and we'd like to discuss it more as we go forward with the presentation.
There should be an icon on there, Steve, the bottom left. Starts with Salida. I'm sorry, middle of the screen left. There you go.
I can just move it up. Is that better? Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a closer, yeah.
How do I get to side? Where's the view button?
Hit that, right there, right up one, up, right there.
Jeez, thank you. Oh, thank you. So, we literally merged the two projects here. There's a lot of similarities, and we'll go through the architects. I believe in staying in my lane. That's their lane, so they'll talk about the differences. And just a few weeks ago, the state of the city, you guys said it best, and we truly believe in that. So I'm going to introduce the team here. It's growing, it's getting larger, but we have, like I said, Jim from Iceberg. Skyduck Capital is the family that's working with us to fund the project. They're not able to. They have their annual meeting today. Simeon Talley with Community Development Strategies. Ryan Hogan with CBRE and Iceberg. Dan Drendel from Slingshot Architecture. Steve Miller from Slingshot Architecture. And Shive Hattery is represented by Mark Siebold. In addition, we have commitments from the Englert Theater, Western Home Communities, which is a senior housing provider, ACT for Housing Space, the Housing Fellowship to own or manage the affordable housing, Stories Project, and Smart Lamb is our mass timber company. I'm going to have Simeon take over here.
Okay, once again, my name is Simeon Talley, and I am here in my role with community development strategies, which was, as part of this team, a community development consultant, and kind of talking about some of our community outreach efforts that have been ongoing from the beginning and continue to happen, not only to the stakeholders a part of this team, but to the broader community as well. So I want to just sort of state from the outset that we listened a lot during the public engagement period that the city conducted, and then we conducted our own more focused focus group, this is a picture of some of the folks that we convened at Merge to really flesh out some of the ideas and some of the things that were expressed through the city's public engagement community survey. And some of our takeaways were we were looking to get clear on what's missing downtown, how to bring more people downtown who aren't already coming, and we wanted to maybe stress test and get more specific on right-size retail. And just take a little bit of a step back, we started this meeting off by asking everyone to talk about a memorable experience that they had in downtown Iowa City, and almost everyone to the T talked about coming to downtown for one thing and having an unexpected serendipitous interaction or experience with another, whether that's coming downtown for a music event and then meeting friends, whether that's going to dinner and stumbling into an arts festival, whether that's attending Mission Creek Festival and learning about an amazing new artist that blows you away. And that's sort of the beauty, and I think the thing about downtown that makes us special, that makes us unique. And we thought to ourselves, how can we continue to incorporate that serendipity, that unexpected interactions and experiences when you come for one thing, but you're likely to experience something else. And so that informs this project in this building as well. Some of our key takeaways. We validated right-size retail, and we'll get to that and flesh it out a little bit. Our arts community and arts organizations and the programming and the creatives that we have in Iowa City, it's special. It's something that Iowa City does differently, and downtown Iowa City does differently than anyone else. And that's an asset. That's our value prop. That's something that is differentiating from other communities, and the public understands this and wanted to see that reflected in this proposal. And then just to kind of close this section out, what we've done in merging our two teams is try to marry community input, really listening to the community, incorporating that into the development, the city's objectives, and what is a viable project. And so as y'all stated and kind of defined and outlined to us, and what we'll kind of get through in this presentation, your goals are active and engaging ground floor uses and supportive of the small business culture in Iowa City, a mix of market and affordable housing options, high quality construction and leadership and climate action, and increasing the taxable valuation of the property. So we'll sort of, everything will be rooted in helping the city meet those goals.
Hello again, this is Steve Miller from Slingshot Architecture, and just walking through the first couple goals here is driven by, or how to get active, engaging ground floor uses and supporting the small business culture of Iowa City is really driven by how these uses come together through the floor plan, which I can walk through real quick. So the anchor tenant of this ground floor is really the venue that the Englert wants to have on this site, which is kind of inspired by the mill and fills the void that the mill had when or has left in its absence, where the community can really come together, and this entire dining and bar area along Washington and the corner of Washington and Lynn here is activated by that transparent dining and bar space, and then behind it there's a two-story volume that is the music venue and performance venue that steps up over the ramp and has the ability to open up onto the courtyard, which I'll show you in just a second in a section diagram. But you can see on the second floor plan on the right that two-story volume expands up, and there's a mezzanine and the green room and back of house offices, support spaces for the Englert is there. And then they're also interested in using this what we're calling a shared third space as space for artists, co-working, an artist resource center that they're exploring. And so that would be under the Englert's purview as well. And so then at the top of the stairs that you would enter from the commercial lobby on the ground floor, you'd be able to get there or go into Stories Project, which has kind of its initial 4,000 square feet footprint on the second floor with a interactive projection room, double height projection room on that floor too. It's back to the first floor. Further activating the public realm here is 4 micro retail spaces, which are about 500 square feet each, which would be, fitted out and have shared restrooms and just really accessible, easy for local entrepreneurs and small businesses to be able to move into. And then also just of note, the shared mechanical and trash strategy for the alley, where we'd it's kind of getting in the weeds, but wanting to clean up the alley and have a shared trash strategy for the businesses along there and get some of the dumpsters out of the alley. I need to get rid of my... So anyways, this is that section I referenced. You can see the venue space that sort of steps up with the stage and backstage and then green room over the ramp as it descends under the underground parking. And you can see how the venue and the mezzanine space have the ability to open up into the courtyard.
Do you have something? Yeah. So this is a rendering looking at the front of the building and specifically kind of that in-between space between the existing building and the ground floor and second floor Billy's uses, which Billy is like a riff on Bill Ankard's name. You can also see a private balcony that's up here that's part of the Stories Project. So very open and engaging in what's happening on this ground floor level. So by opening this up, we're really kind of celebrating this mural, and not only that, but like the exterior character, just the downtown grittiness of Iowa City and some of those older brick buildings. We're activating the first and second floors with that community living room space, with the community theater that can be open for all kinds of different events. And really, by using a lot of glass, we're reflecting, or we're making that mass timber structure kind of visible. It's a warmer and it's a much more natural setting, or natural material to be using when building a building, and that can be witnessed both from outside and inside. Again, you can see all those same traits here. I think what we're showcasing in this particular rendering is the way that these walls are very porous. They have lots of openings in and out of them, so when the weather's nice, you can open the space up. There's lots of glimpses inside so that you can see each other moving around, and it's just connecting and activating the ground floor to the street. And that happens on the inside too. The interior spaces, as Steve was pointing out in the plan, there's no real hard walls in between them, so you're kind of stumbling into Stories and across the line into the Billy's space, and having those types of interactions that Simeon was talking with. And that openness, I think, both from a glass-fronted building, seeing what's going on there at all levels in this activated space, as well as the way the plan works, it's welcoming residents, families, visitors into the space with long hours. I mean, this will be open from early in the morning until late at night. And I think that's talking about the micro retail quickly.
So,
running out of time.
So yeah, this is just a view of Lynn Street, those 4 micro retail bays, and you can see the lobby entrances on the left under the kind of aluminum massing there. But so I mean, this really speaks to some of the goals that the downtown district had in their letter to you all about right-size retail, and then that the micro retail unit on the right has the ability to kind of interact with the alley as well, and then. Just noting the shared trash strategy there. So I'll keep moving.
So stepping into contextual architecture and urban scale, the way that we come into this is really thinking about what the urban fabric of Iowa City is, especially in this district, and the taller buildings as we add density to this district, specifically the taller buildings that interact with the public realm directly to the street frontage currently, and we're proposing to expand this strategy, really highlight wayfinding in the public space of the downtown, the pedestrian mall, the park gatherings, the film scene, the art alley, the expansion of performance entertainment that we're proposing as part of this project. So that really the articulation of the corner of this building can be another one of those wayfinding places in the city that really signal public space and public event in the fabric. And that relates really directly, kind of one-to-one, with the history of the city. And around the turn of the century, as City Hall was on this site, the same thing was happening at a different scale, right? At this time of the history of really every city, the taller points in the city were church steeples and City Hall, clock towers like this. But it's still the same method of thinking, right? Where these taller elements are where people come together. They're signaling public space and public activity. And so there's lots of stories to tell about that, but love to talk about it for like an hour, but we got 20 minutes. So as this comes together in the building form, right, the articulated corner, more articulated corner reveals than the transparent public space that we've been talking about. And as those, both the micro retail and the event spaces, both really sync up with their context on the edge, a 3-story on Washington and a 2-story mass that really is at risk of getting dwarfed, but this project really engages that 2-story mass with the micro retail. And then what happens then is we get lots of points of entry, lots of perforation on the ground floor that really becomes the heart of this project, the entries to living, the entries to retail, the entries to these community spaces that are all just activating the street and making a really vibrant place that's really both adding density, adding public wayfinding, and successfully stitching into the fabric and the height of the historic context at the same time.
And I think just quickly, this is just a diagram on how the program really lays out, where that's that first floor is that community living room, Englert micro retail spaces. Second floor becomes that third space as part of Englert, and then partial second and third floors become the Stories Project, or the areas allocated for them. So again, they're visible from the outside. And then our fourth floor would be an office space for ACT. And then I think Steve can run through the housing.
Yeah, everything above that is housing, but there's, our initial proposal had just all affordable housing for seniors, and here in the work session, and also just responding more directly to the RFP of a mix of market rate and affordable housing options. We have a much more diverse mix now. So level 5 is our studio units, which were initially targeted for the International Writers Workshop to be able to rent while their writers are here, but also the Englert has expressed interest in housing it for artists and other local arts nonprofits. And then the 3 levels above that are affordable housing for 55 plus, which are 33 units. And then 1 level above that is 12 units of non-age restricted affordable housing. So that's 45 units of permanently affordable housing. And then Western Home is more of a market rate senior living community that is interested in having 1 floor, which would be 10 2-bedroom units. And then the top 2 floors, we have 20 units of 1 and 2 bedrooms at market rate. So that's a total of 91 total residential units for adding to downtown. Which transitions back to you.
All right, here we are again. So the downtown impact, we're going to be bringing, whether it's, for right now it's ACT, we're 3 years out probably from completion. So more jobs downtown, more employees. Englert Theater expanding into their next phase with a smaller venue and a community living room. The Stories Project, which has been getting a lot of traction lately. And then a mix of 91 residential units. 50% will be permanently affordable.
Yeah, and think just briefly, one of the aspects that has followed through within this design is using mass timber as a sustainable way to build buildings. It's highly recognized as an icon of sustainability. This would be the tallest mass timber building in Iowa and probably top 10 nationwide, and really just exhibiting Iowa City's leadership in climate action. It's safe. You're actually adopting the building code that allows this project later tonight. It's got less carbon to manufacture, less carbon footprint, and it's only adding like 1.4% to our overall building costs. That, along with all kinds of other sustainable strategies, we plan on incorporating into this project.
So 27 seconds here. Our estimates right now, we have estimates from 2 different construction companies, is just under $42 million. Proposing to purchase the land for $2 million. Total project cost just under $48 million, and a TIF request of $9 million over 15 years, which is 60% of the TIF, so it's going to generate about $1 million a year in tax increment. And we're proposing 60% of it go to the project, so it's
All right, thank you. Thank you all. So we're going to switch over to questions from the council.
I had a design question on the first and second floors. I was trying to, I'm trying to look on the slide. I don't know if you want to flip it back to that. Was just wondering, my question involves elevators and accessibility. And maybe it was on there and I was trying to absorb all of it pretty quickly. So, but if you could kind of go over where those would be and what that would look like.
Sure. Good there, sorry.
Almost there.
And will you give council a 2-minute warning, please?
Yes.
It'll be 10 minutes. Yes, sorry about that. You got a couple extra seconds.
So we're splitting the commercial and residential lobby, so there'd be 2 elevators here for commercial, or for the residential, going full height, and then this elevator would just be for those first 4 floors.
Is that the V in the diagram? I'm just trying to
The
find
big X, sorry. You're not seeing
Oh,
my...
the X's, the big X's.
You're not seeing
Okay.
my mouse up there, sorry.
Now I'm seeing, I understand. I just didn't know what those were, so thank you.
Yep.
That answers my question.
I'd like to hear a little more about the TIF and what the details that we didn't hear, if you could, please.
Sure. We're proposing so we've worked with the assessor and estimated the value to be around $1 million a year in new taxes. We're proposing that 60% of that, so 40% or $400,000 a year would continue to go into the cities and the schools and everybody. And for 15 years, 60% would be to pay for essentially the permanent affordable housing and some of the community benefits. And then after the 15 years will be a pretty dramatic increase.
In what the city receives in tax revenue?
Yes.
Not, okay, thank you. Not in the TIF subsidy?
No,
Okay.
no, that's it.
Just want to make sure.
And we've been working with Impact, it used to be called Impact 7G, looking at grayfields and brownfields tax credits, workforce housing tax credits. We're looking at other options to bring that number even further down.
Can you please go back to the affordable housing section?
Which, this
Yeah.
one?
I think your first, the first proposal was LIHTC. This is not LIHTC, right?
The 33 units of 55 plus will be LIHTC, yes.
But I guess, I don't know, somebody told me that we cannot mix affordable housing with, for regular people and the senior together.
Here's our affordable housing guy.
Yeah, you can mix them. We'll have to condo the building to separate the 33 units out as a separate condo, but you
Oh.
can mix it.
Okay, as long as you separate them. And when you say affordable 12 unit, what the percentage of the area median income you're looking at?
It'll be an average of 60% of the AMI.
60% and below, or just add 6%?
Well, it'll average 60%, so there'll be some below and there may be some above.
Okay. Yeah, and you said was a philosophy for the studios?
That's been changing the last week when the International Writing Program lost a lot of their funding. They had initially proposed to rent 40% of the units for their writers. Now we're proposing, and this is the way real estate projects work, things change, to do studio lofts, like in the 500 to 600 square foot range, so they would be affordable as well, but also possibly, we've talked to the Englert about possibly using some of those units to house some of their visiting artists as well.
And the 12 unit, are you looking for 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1-bedroom?
In the whole building?
For the 12 unit affordable housing.
Those are currently 1 bedroom, but they could be, we could add 2 bedrooms because the plumbing is set up below for some 2s.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
The senior affordable is a mix of 1s and 2s, the LIHTC.
I just wanted to briefly chime in that all the affordable units will be managed by the Housing Fellowship here in Iowa City. So they'll be locally managed properties, affordable properties.
So I'm going to just say that this is a lot of information to take in, and I'm a bit frustrated that we didn't get information ahead of time to be able to be fully engaged with the changes. So I'm going to be very upfront about that. Now, transitioning, as we have to do a lot, I have a few questions because we went from Salida Partners and the other partners there, with a purchase of $1, TIF, $800,000 a year for 15 to 20, and then with Iceberg, at one point, you had a $7 to maybe $9.6 million gap, and then $24 million was the estimated cost. So there's a lot of information here to try to digest into a 10-minute, and I don't know how much time I have left. 5 minutes? Oh, I'm not taking all the 5 minutes. I have colleagues. But so just trying to go to the numbers here, and I appreciated the question about TIF. And I was happy to hear that you're looking at other funding opportunities because a part of my thought process, just looking at, the mixed of housing options, yes, there is definitely, the affordable units, which, oftentimes that's a challenge, but we have some market rate units as well. I guess I'm going to want to know a little bit more about that and how, and also all the businesses that will be there and how they plan to be a part of the contributing financially to this. It seemed like a big ask to me for the city in this moment with the gaps and with I believe the purchase for the property will be $2 million is what I remember. Again, this is just a lot to take in, but I think my message is I'm going to be interested in learning what you all present to the city so that we can dive into it more. I know our staff is going to do, reevaluate things and, present that to us. But yeah, I would like to see a little bit more. I'm going to be looking at the financial part of it quite a bit to make sure that we're exhausting all the opportunities. Last question I have just is about the bar space. Is that going to be open past midnight because of our drinking establishment and 500-foot rule? Do we know if it's going to be past midnight if you're planning to have the bar open?
I'd have to talk to someone from the Englert, but we haven't discussed that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there is a 500.
It's pretty close to other bars, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a 500-foot rule that in this moment it wouldn't be able to be open past midnight. So, all right. Great. Thanks.
Is there a time still? You want to say something?
Well, just to comment a little bit about we understand the frustration, and one of the things that we were listening to and trying to figure out was, can we meet the goals that you guys set and the goals that we have to make a project that we know is viable economically in the future. And the one thing that occurred to us when we looked at both of our applications is I had a lot of affordable housing, but the affordable housing is good and bad, especially when you're talking about TIF, because it does not generate a lot of increment, has a special tax character. And so even though I was doing a lot of units, I was not generating a lot of increment. Their project was generating more increment. So we looked at it as a more holistic approach of how do we generate increment, leave some of it on the table for the city that frankly would have been more than I could have ever created with my project, and yet keep enough on the table for us to make the project viable.
Great.
So that's a large reason why we combine the efforts.
We got 2 minutes left. All right.
Just on since this project is requesting TIF, we have the updated TIF policy. I think I heard someone say LEED Silver as far as sustainability, but then we skipped past a slide with a lot more information. So very quickly, mass timber, all 12 stories? Okay. And can you speak a little bit about just like the amount of glass and surfaces and how you would commit to exceeding the energy code by at least 25%?
Go back to that slide. And I think, at this point, these are goals and their expectations, and through architecture and through engineering, we will figure out a way to meet those goals and make sure it meets those LEED Silver standards that are part of the city's, TIF agreements.
But when we're looking for leadership, like what can you tell us that's more than just that bare minimum? That was most of the discussion that we had in
The mass timber thing is really big.
Okay.
It's a big deal. I think going all electric always, especially in Iowa, is a fantastic piece. Utilizing natural local materials, low carbon materials, low VOC materials. A lot of daylighting is especially important, not only for sustainability, but for wellness. I mean, all of these things, all of the things that we were doing to open the building up to the public also help us with, achieve some of our sustainability goals. The trick will be making sure our mechanical systems can be efficient enough to, provide the right tempering in the building and meet the energy goals. But I think with the combination of strategies we can come up with, we can certainly do that. Do you have anything else to add, Steve?
Just sort of to address that, the proposal reduced the amount of glass significantly. Just to that also help with the cost of the construction, to put the cost per square foot came down.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Thanks to the combined teams for their presentation. All right. So we're going to just move right along. We're going to have 20 minutes again for Grand Rail, so thank you. We'll let you get your computer started. Welcome.
Good evening, or good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Mike Bales. I'm a member of the Bales team with Urban Acres Real Estate that would be working on this project. I also wanted to introduce one of the partners, Jake Evans, owner of Grand Rail Construction, and Rob Becker of Axiom Consultants.
And hi, I'm Sophie Danto with OPN Architects, and also with me from OPN Architects, we have Toby Olson and Zach Ryder.
So obviously this is a long process and there's a lot to look at. So what we're going to go through is how we viewed the project, talk about our financial viability, what we believe our strengths and differentiators are, and then also talk about some alternative ideas that we could propose within our team. So one of the things that I believe makes our team the most unique is that we're all local. We kind of put a little chart together that showed the partners, the teams, proposed tenants, and subcontractors and suppliers, and they're all within the eastern Iowa area. So Sophie's going to talk a little bit about the design and how we came to the size of what we are proposing and why we feel that's the best for financial viability.
Yeah, so you guys saw in the last presentation, and ours as well, this is the city hall that used to stand on this site. You can see the buildings next to it. that are still standing. And this is kind of where we started as a starting place with this lot. You know, 3-story brick building, red brick and limestone, traditional kind of a look. And we knew right away we wanted to do a brick building as well and kind of reference these materials, but do it in a modern way. And then as we started thinking about values for this project, you know, these are some of the values that we see when we think of Iowa City and things that we wanted to incorporate into it. But we also did a lot of reading and a lot of listening to your values as well. Clearly, a lot of thought and effort was put into the RFP, but then also into some of these other plans that date back over a decade that address downtown and address this site in particular. So I won't read every single quote on here, but we did go through and really try to make sure that all of the stakeholders' voices were heard as part of this process. And so here you can see kind of a comparison. This is the 2012 Downtown and Riverfront Crossings Master Plan, actually addressed this site specifically. And what that plan was calling for was kind of a lower base to align to the adjacent buildings and line up with the senior center across the street, and then step back the taller portion of the building and build up from there. And we really agreed with this approach for that site, facing the senior center across the street, and then the rest of that block kind of being at that 3-story level. To propose a 3-story massing and then step backward and go sort of building up from there to the 6 stories that we have. And then as we looked more at design, really we started by just kind of walking around downtown. You know, our office is right over on Clinton. We spent a lot of time just looking at buildings along the Ped Mall and starting to look at the little details that make these buildings and kind of create the character of Iowa City. So looking at archways, unique detailing, depth in the facade, references to nature and brickwork. These are all things that don't, unfortunately, show up very well on a rendering, but they really make or break for the experience of the building down at the pedestrian level. So now we kind of want to look a little bit more specifically, go inside the building and look at some of the tenants and the options that we're looking at going forward. So as we started talking with potential tenants, we were really overwhelmed by the amount of enthusiasm for this site and the amount of interest, and are really excited about the possibilities of what these different groups can start to bring to downtown Iowa City. So as you saw in the RFP, our original proposal was a 6-story, 4 floors of commercial and 2 floors of residential, kind of lining up with the tallest building on the block right now. But looking at the amount of interest that we got, we're also considering going up 1 or 2 stories to possibly an 8-story version that would kind of align with the ecumenical towers across the street. So you can see kind of across Lynn Street that 3-story datum line, and then stepping back as you go further through the block to kind of mirror what's across the street. So this is kind of our baseline section, our starting point. Doing something that's daytime and nighttime, publicly accessible, the entertainment venue, an event space / cafe on the 1st floor, looking at office space on 2 through 4, and then residential on 5 and 6. But then after looking at all the interest we got, you know, this is kind of the composition of the building if every tenant that wrote a letter of interest does end up moving into the building. So we look at the Englert venue, cafe, and kind of that 3rd space on the ground level. ACT on 2 and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6, the Stories Project, and possibly the City of Iowa City with access to an outdoor terrace, and then looking at residential on the upper levels. We're also open to looking at options if there's a priority to make the building more residential in proportion and increase the number of housing units. We could also look at options that have more residential in proportion to commercial. If there's one kind of takeaway from our team that we want you guys to have, it's that we're flexible and we're adaptable. We're willing to work with you to design the best building for Iowa City. Going into floor plans, we'll kind of start at the bottom. We have 1 level of buried parking. We put the parking access off the alley because that is what zoning for this lot dictates, and tried to push it as far from the Studio 13 entrance as we could. That being said, we also looked at another layout for parking that would come off of Lynn Street, kind of round a corner, if we wanted to keep cars out of that alley and really make that more of a pedestrian access. If the city was open to that, we could look at that as well. Skipping up to levels 2, 3, and 4, we wanted to lay these out as open and flexible as possible with a central core so that you could have one tenant taking 2 floors, you could have 8 tenants on 1 floor. It can subdivide and change over time to respond to the market. And then looking at level 1, we kind of started with that Englert venue with kind of 18-hour activity. We've had some great talks with them about activation during the daytime, the ability for that cafe space to kind of spill out onto the sidewalk, and to do all of the glass on ground floor as folding walls. So say during Jazz Fest, that could be your rain venue, or have that sort of indoor-outdoor space going during the day. We also looked at an option where they go up to 4th floor with the outdoor terrace, and we could look at the 1st floor having those smaller retail spaces along Washington, and then the Stories Project lobby along, or other way around, micro retail along Lynn, and Stories Project entrance off of Washington. And so we're looking to explore some of these options with the tenants as this moves forward and becomes more concrete. And then to touch on the housing a little bit, we really envision this as kind of a mixed income vertical community where every unit is getting their own garden plot. There's access to kind of a shared backyard on the roof, and the opportunity for residents to really start to build connections and form kind of a neighborhood within this building. Right now, we are looking at 1, 1.5, and 2-bedroom units, but we've laid it out such that they could be combined to look at possible 3- and 4-bedroom units if that was a desire as well. We are also proposing sale of the units to the Housing Fellowship, so that would be managed by them as permanent affordable units.
So picking up on that, with the RFP process, the community input, the feedback we've heard from city staff and other people, the biggest thing is how do you make it all fit? How do you make it all fit, and how do you make it financially viable? So we looked at 2 concepts originally. The first was the original concept that we have put on the proposal. We also looked up to a 13-story tower. And what we realized pretty quickly was for that to be financially viable, it would require TIF. It would require more incentives. And so one of the things that we have to look at is not only this is a city plot of ground. So the city has to look at it from being good stewards of their money. We have to be able to look at it and say, would we do this project? And so when we went through everything, we kept it at the lower level because that allowed us not to be subject to external financing incentives, to be able to go local with the financing. We have a letter of interest from Hills Bank. With our local team, we're here every day. We're able to start work on day one. Regardless of who's selected, there's going to be a period of time where the final design is worked through. I can only imagine there's going to be a lot of dialogue between the staff, council members, still more city input. There's going to be a lot of different aspects that go into the final design of whichever project selected, and we're here. We're here, ready to work. I'm an Iowa City native, lived in Eastern Iowa my whole life. All of the team we have is based in the Iowa City corridor area. The other factor is in our proposal, we put a $3 million purchase price. However, I can't tell you definitively today what prices are going to be in 2 or 3 years. So we have to put a RFP together today for what we're going to bring to market in 2 or 3 years. So if I have to use today's pricing, then a $3 million purchase agreement is what we can do. However, as we go through this and as we work with the staff and through the process, that purchase price could increase. Now, again, it's got to make sense, right? It's got to make sense from the city's standpoint. Obviously, they want to recoup as much money as possible, and we have to make it financially viable. But those are some of the factors that go into it. Same with if these are rental units, same on the commercial rents. You know, we're using numbers today to project into the future. The other factor is we have the ability to adapt to the market conditions. because we're not, this isn't a specialized type of construction, and Sophie or Rob or Jake can talk a little bit more to that, but it's more conventional. It does meet or exceed all the requirements of the RFP, but because it's more conventional, we're more adaptable and flexible. So the big question that I think is before the council on this project is, you've already made the investment, right? The ground's already purchased. You paid $4.5 million. So now the only question that remains is, what is the return on investment? So with that being said, there's different components to this, and taxes are one. Real estate taxes are one. There's a lot of other tax base that goes into a particular project like this. And with affordable housing, so, sorry if I'm just a little nervous. Every once in a while I get like this, and it's always fun. It's always fun, so let me just tell you that. I don't think this is the right spot for a ton of affordable housing. I really don't. Myself, I'm a product of Iowa City Affordable Housing. From from kindergarten to third grade, I lived in Mark IV, which is, now and I just blanked, but Pheasant Ridge. And then from third grade through high school, I lived at 1946 Broadway Street, Apartment A. So I am a child of affordable housing and the initiatives of the city. I'm fortunate enough to now be an investor in multiple businesses and multiple projects employing over 200 people. It just doesn't seem to me that affordable housing should be jammed into downtown. Why not take that money, reinvest it back in the community, work with a viable project that will work on the corner? We can fill it, we can finance it, take that money and use it for other things throughout the community. I think that's a much, much better use of the funds. Now, if it's the city's prerogative and the city's desire that it be downtown, we are happy to work on that. But I can't propose projects unless I'm being honest. And that's how I feel. So with that being said, senior housing, is there an opportunity for that? Absolutely. City offices, I believe, because you've already made that investment, if we know the city wants to be there, we can condo it out. We can rent it. There's different ways that we can make things work to get the city the best return on investment possible. So the previous presenters already went over several of the tenants because we have several of them in common. But as far as the financial viability, we feel our project stands alone when it comes to that. So.
Great. All right. Any other comments you want to make before we go into council questions?
I think we'll leave extra time for questions.
Great. All right. Awesome.
Real quickly, on the I guess we'll call it the base model, you had mentioned 2 levels of residential. Did you have, and you mentioned some various options, but do you have a ballpark of how many units you're thinking of in those?
20.
There were 20.
20? Okay, maybe I just missed that. Thank you. You're 20, yes.
And you talked about also the number of the bedrooms. I think you mentioned some of them. Can you just talk about that again?
So the way we conceived it is 1 and 2 bedrooms. We can, obviously we can be flexible and change that to 3 or 4 bedrooms. That's going to reduce the number of units. But as conceived in our original proposal, it's 1 and 2 bedrooms.
But those are not affordable, right? Because you said maybe affordable housing not supposed to be there.
Well, within our proposal, we had 4 units that we were we would be working with the Housing Fellowship on affordable programs through them. All I was saying, and not very eloquently today, was that I just don't think that's the best spot for them. I think you could take that money and you could put it elsewhere and you could do more, in essence, making a down payment on even more. And so, again, we've got the ability within our proposal to make at least 4 affordable housing units.
And for the retail, since if you're thinking that way, what about the small business space? Are you thinking also like some affordability for like starter, a small business? Maybe, because renting downtown is really expensive also.
It is. And again, I don't want to be disingenuous. I mean, we're showing micro retail and different spots down there, and it all depends on how we can make it all come together to bring the overall cost of the project down. So, in other words, if we can work with the city and they take a space, if OPN takes a space, if ACT takes a space, now we're filling everything up. Can we get those at a lower value? That's always something we can look at, but it's definitely not guaranteed until you get all those other pieces into place.
Yeah, understandable.
Thank you for a proposal that doesn't request the TIF. I do wonder, just again, my question relating to sustainability factors and how you're approaching that, since you don't have those guidelines of the TIF policy that we were hammering on in the last proposal.
Yeah, so in the RFP, we are targeting LEED Silver, looking at efficient building systems, looking at possible PV on the roof. These are things that OPN has a lot of experience with. Even internally, we've kind of raised our own standards with specifications, looking at decarbonization, looking at low and no VOC materials. So for us, it kind of comes with the territory on any building we design, but these are things that are built into the project and the pricing of the project.
You mentioned traditional materials. I don't remember what, for the height, depending on the height, are we talking just timber construction, concrete, steel? Which traditional materials were you planning on, I guess, is my question.
So if we stay at 6 stories or below, we have options, concrete, timber, steel. If we go up to 8, it would be a steel building with masonry facade.
And when you mentioned the 20 affordable housing, is that what, if the story 8, like if the building is 8-story or 6 or?
The 6-story, any of them would include 20 units, 4 of them at least affordable, sold to the Housing Fellowship.
Sure.
And if it was the 8 stories, which would be somewhat the same height as Ecumenical Towers, that would all be market rate, that additional 2 stories, in theory?
No. As we go up, we can carve out some affordable on each side. One of the things that was presented to us, and again, part of my thinking on the affordable housing, was that apparently other affordable housing units downtown struggle very mightily when they don't have parking. And that seemed to be a concern to some of the feedback that we got. And that's one of the other, limiting factors in having potential more affordable housing units down here, at least in our opinion.
So the question is, the 2 additional...
We would get 2 more per floor.
You would do 2 more market rate?
2 more
floors.
affordable unit per floor.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just 4 of them. Oh.
It would be 8.
Total of
8 total.
But the rest of them, which is, I think, 12, is that like students' housing?
Would the rest of the units be student housing? They would be open to the market, either whether we rented them or whether we sold them. So then it would just be whoever applied or whoever purchased.
It's not furnished or anything, right?
It's not what? I'm
It's
sorry.
not going to be furnished apartment. You are not going to.
These are not. We would not plan on them being furnished apartments. No.
Okay.
I heard you mention that you might be open to the opportunity to do 3 and 4 bedrooms. Can you just speak a little bit to that?
Well, again, just because of the design of the building, I mean, we can play with the walls internally and look at that. One of the big things is when you go to 3 and 4, I mean, traditionally downtown, that's student housing. And so it's easily done. Then we just have to look at the numbers because you have to figure out, because part of our proposal was I broke it down between, okay, here's a scenario if we rented all the units plus had the affordable. Here's a scenario if we sold all the units plus the affordable, and how does that work? So to decide like what the mix would be, we would have to look and see what those would yield and have to do a market analysis on a 3-bedroom unit downtown and what we think that could either rent for or sell for. So as far as structurally, it's just moving walls. As far as, what you would do and how that would be reflective on the project, I would have to do more analysis on that because, again, I can't think of any downtown apartments or condos, 3 or 4 bedrooms that aren't student living. So I don't know that I'd have real good comparables to do that analysis, but we could get that information.
Did you have a photo of, or any graphics on where the parking could be if it was on Lynn Street?
I can kind of point it out here. So where it is now, it would exit out the right corner. So instead of exiting onto the alley, you'd go onto Lynn, kind of directly to the right of where it is now, that entrance, and you'd come in sort of facing west and then turn.
Got it. Okay. Yep. And I'm sure there will be a lot of conversations on parking that the staff will go through. There's a lot of debate on that, but all right. Any other questions by my colleagues?
Do you have any idea how much this is going to cost?
Yes, we do. Not directly in front of us on this table, but yes, we did a cost analysis. I believe it's in our RFP response.
It's in the
but we do
RFP, I
have
just
that,
don't
yeah.
have it right. Just handy.
Can you just tell us, estimate, around?
40? Yeah, about 40 million.
Thank you.
Yep. And then I know I'm supposed to be asking questions, but your comment about this is not the right spot for affordable housing, I just have to tell you that in our community, we believe that everybody belongs everywhere.
Of course.
And we should try to figure out how to make it possible for people to live no matter where it is in the city. So I'll just leave that at that. And I probably should have formed it in some type of a question, but I wanted to make a comment.
No, that's a fair comment question, and I guess like I said, I didn't say it very eloquently. I more to the point, what I was trying to say was that if we took some of the return from the money that the city gets back for anyone purchasing this ground and takes that and uses it in different areas, then we could get more affordable housing. So that's what I was trying to say, but
I
not very
totally
eloquent.
understand your logic. It's
Yep.
been used a lot, yes. No, so not arguing there, but thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, just to make you feel good on that. That's true. I did I asked before to have fee in lieu instead of affordable housing in downtown, so we can build somewhere else. Because I know most likely the people who need, affordable is families, and most likely families is not. They need 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. I don't think they will be in downtown.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks to the two presenters today. And so I guess I would just probably advise us to, if there's any, clarification questions for staff or amongst ourselves that we want staff to be aware of, that we have that discussion now. Otherwise, given positions or opinions on the projects, I would just advise us to hold off on at this juncture.
I'll just say I'm looking forward to seeing the sort of comparable, the staff report that we got that was comparing the different projects now with the new combined project. And I know that's the plan, but just saying that, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. It seemed like you guys put a lot of work on that, so thank you for the hard working. Yeah.
And I'll say what I said last time, if only we had 2 street corners.
Yes.
Just a question for staff. Do you have any sense of how long it will take to kind of digest and then get back to us that comparison?
I'll probably just need to talk with the merge team a little bit to see how long it'll take them to pull it together. I would be hopeful that certainly we could meet the April 15th agenda. I think we could meet the April 1st if we were able to get the information pulled together pretty quick. So I don't think it'll take too long. So our next step, just so everybody's clear, our next step will be to reach out to the Salida Iceberg team and just kind of detail everything that we're going to need to revise our staff report and get that out to you. As soon as it's ready, we'll put it in the next packet and make sure that you can have a discussion on it. We'll advise the teams that when that discussion will be, so they can be here if they want to be, in case you guys have any clarifications or questions. And again, the ultimate goal is to work towards that preferred development team scenario state. And I'd like to think we can get there in April or May, but certainly want to make sure that you feel comfortable that you've received the input that you need from the community and that you have all the information from staff and the teams. So just urge you, don't rush into that decision. Make sure you have everything you feel like you need, but I think we're getting pretty close here.
One thing I will say that was a little illuminating today was, of course, I think we've all known that was the City Hall at one point. And so I guess my personal thoughts are it would be a great opportunity to somehow acknowledge that in this process. And I'm not saying that has to be offices, although the city has needs for that too, but some way commemorate that. So other than that, if no other comments, we're going to be adjourned for our work session. So, yeah, we are done. We'll be back at 6 p.m.
Muy bien.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to your City Hall. It is Tuesday, March 11, 2025, and it is 6 p.m. I'm going to call the City of Iowa City meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alter.
Here.
Burgess.
Here.
Harmson.
Here.
Mo.
Here.
Saleh. Here. Teague.
Here. Want to again welcome everyone that is here in person and anyone that is joining us virtually. Welcome to you as well. We're going to move on to proclamations. 2A is Save Soil Day. Whereas Save Soil is a global movement launched by Sadhguru, uniting world leaders, visionaries, influencers, and residents of all nations behind a common purpose to restore and safeguard the world's soil. And whereas Save Soil aims to address the global soil crises, recognizing that 52% of the world's agricultural soils are already degraded, and by 2050, 90% of Earth's soil could be degraded. And whereas addressing soil degradation, there we go, issues would bring solutions for the loss of biodiversity, nutritional deficiencies, food security, water scarcity, climate change, and mass migration. And whereas the proposed solution is to advocate for policies across all nations towards soil restoration and aim to increase organic matter in agricultural soil to a minimum of 3 to 6%. And whereas in March 2022, in an effort to raise awareness and activate support from leaders and community members alike, Sadhguru undertook a 30,000-kilometer journey as a lone motorcyclist covering 27 nations, proclaimed March 21st, 2025 to be Save Soil Day in Iowa City, and urge all community members to be a part of the Save Soil movement to support national policies towards soil restoration, aim to raise the organic matter of soil to a minimum of 3 to 6%, and participate in celebrating and creating bright futures for our children. Lotta.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members, city staff, and my fellow Iowans. My name is Rami Lode, and I'm here as a volunteer with the nonprofit Conscious Planet. Today I'm here to talk about soil, and I know most of you are wondering why we are trying to save soil given that we live on a giant mud ball. Well, I had similar thoughts when I first heard about this movement, but later realized that the experts are talking about cultivable soil. That is the soil that is suitable to grow food in. If the organic content in soil dies, it essentially turns into sand, and we can't grow food in sand. In 2020, the United Nations estimated that we have roughly 50 to 60 years of agriculture left on this planet. If we continue to maintain the status quo, by 2045, we will be producing 40% less food than what we are producing today, while the global population is estimated to grow from 8 to 9.3 billion people. So that's food production going down and human population going up. Certainly not a balanced equation. It is not just about the quantity, but also about the quality. Our grandparents got as much nutrition from 1 orange as we do today from 8 oranges. This is clearly evident in the rising cases of nutrition and vitamin deficiency, compromising our immune system and impacting our overall well-being. Soil degradation is costing the U.S. approximately $45 billion annually. The good news is that the soil crisis is reversible, provided we act with a sense of urgency to increase the organic content of soil to a minimum of 3 to 6%. Save Soil is backed by the United Nations Environment Program, UN Food and Agriculture Organization, amongst others. thank you so much for taking the time for making the Safe Soil Proclamation here in Iowa City, like many other cities across the U.S., including our neighbor Coralville. I humbly request you to use your voice and available platforms to spread awareness about saving our soil, because if the people talk about it, only then will the leaders of our nation make policy changes. My fellow Iowans can visit safesoil.org and sign up to be Earth Buddies, and then spend a few minutes to post us on social media some information they learned from that site, and use the hashtag SaveSoil. No money or donations are needed. Since last year, we had several events in our community to raise awareness of the soil crisis and continue to do so. For example, this is the next event that's coming up, is the screening of the Common Ground educational documentary at the University of Iowa Iowa Theater. So you can scan the QR code if you wish, and there'll be flyers also later. There were also people stopping by at the Asian Festival and learned a lot about the Safe Soil movement. Yeah, this is at the July 4th Coralville parade, July 4th parade. Again, a lot of people were exposed to the Safe Soil movement, and more people are learning about it. And we ended the year with a handprints for soil awareness in December, where we were especially targeting the next generation, because this is a much bigger problem for them than most of us adults. But nevertheless, we hope to save soil. Let's make it happen, and go Hawks.
Right. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next proclamation, which is to be Transgender Day of Visibility. Whereas transgender individuals across the United States and around the world face unique challenges in achieving equality and acceptance. And whereas the City of Iowa City recognizes the dignity and rights of all individuals, regardless of gender identity, and strives to create a more inclusive, equitable, and just society for all people. And whereas on Friday, February 28, 2025, the state of Iowa removed gender identity from the list of protected classes under the Iowa Civil Rights Act, which has left all transgender Iowans vulnerable to discrimination in education, credit, housing, employment, and public accommodations. And whereas the removal of gender identity from civil rights protections has heightened the importance of ongoing advocacy and support for transgender individuals and communities in Iowa. And whereas March 31st, 2025 marks the observance of Transgender Day of Visibility, a day to celebrate the lives and contributions of transgender individuals, raise awareness about the struggles they face, and honor those who have been lost to violence, discrimination, and hardship. And whereas Transgender Day of Visibility provides an opportunity to highlight the diverse experiences of transgender individuals, acknowledge their accomplishments, and commit to continuing the fight for full equality and acceptance for all members of the transgender community, including advocating for the restoration of civil rights protections for gender identity. And whereas the City of Iowa City stands in solidarity with transgender individuals in the efforts to live authentically and to ensure their rights are respected and protected, now therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2025 to be Transgender Day of Visibility in Iowa City, and I encourage all Iowans to take part in this important day of reflection, advocacy, and celebration of the transgender community, and to continue pushing for legislative efforts to restore gender identity as a protected class under Iowa's Civil Rights Act. And accepting this proclamation are a few individuals, and I'll state all of their names at this time. And when you all come up, you can still state your name. But we'll have Rowan James, Alyssa Tomczyk, Emily Brown, and Maisha Miller.
I just want to say thank you so much, Mayor Teague, and like everyone here, of course. I just think it's so important. It's being hard. It's really hard being trans, especially in today's climate. I mean, everywhere. It just kind of feels like one by one, a lot of safe spaces are being taken away, and one by one, states are just, everything is just on the decline, really, for us at the moment. And so it's really uplifting and kind of emotional in a good way that that you guys are still like fighting for us so heavily, and like seeing such strong advocacy, such outspoken advocacy for like our community. It's really great seeing you guys work. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Emily Brown. I'm here with the rest of the youth today. And growing up, I'm like most Iowans. I grew up in a small town. I had small town virtues and everything. And I had never met another trans person, but I've been trans my whole life. And it seems more and more today we become invisible. And it seems there's not a lot of representation on top of the false representation in media today. And it means a lot to me that none of you being trans yourself could care so much and begin to understand some things that people higher up in Iowa can't and people higher up in our country can't. It means a lot to me that you guys fight for these things despite not having your own section of transgender like city council members, because that shows real equity, that shows real progression, and that shows the real America we want to live in one day. I think it's so important now that, I think it's so important now that we're becoming invisible as a country for Iowa City to be still celebrating the culture and the individuality of each person, trans, straight, cis, any of it. I've never been more proud to live in Iowa City, despite how the higher-ups in Iowa may be. And I think it's a great place for things like this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Do you want to go before me?
Sure.
Okay, I just need more time to think.
Hello, my name is Alicia. I grew up in a small town in Florida. Unfortunately, because of that, I had a very rough upbringing being trans. I would look in the mirror every day and wonder why I couldn't be the opposite sex. It tanked my self-esteem in a way that I feel is I'm unable to even describe. This recognition of Transgender Day of Visibility by Iowa City has shown to me that this new place that I live is willing to fight for me in a way that I have never experienced before. This is incredibly important to ensure that trans people feel safe in their community. And I would like to thank you all for that opportunity for me to feel safe and for others like me to feel safe in the community that we are in.
Sorry about before. My name is Misha. I grew up not knowing my gender identity. Of course, I know what I was born as, but I've always felt different. I've never felt like other kids my age, where it's like, I like dresses. Of course I do. Everyone likes feeling pretty, but I've always preferred to dress like my brothers. I've preferred to be roughhousing. I prefer to be messing with my siblings instead of out in gardens or whatever traditionally feminine things you can think of. I came out as trans when I was 10, 11 years old to my family. Growing up, I was on media a lot, seeing how I explored myself. I found the trans male label for myself, and I've grown up in a community with all these amazing people, my friends, my family, who have been supporting me through this. I went to the Capitol fighting for my rights as a trans person to be seen, to be heard, and to be cared about, even though our government may not see that currently. I cried to my mother. I was begging. I was upset. Why do they not care about us? It's just a difference of opinion. It may not be my opinion. It may not be their opinion. It might not be anyone's opinion in this room. But everyone's different. I hope that they change their mind. I hope that they can see that all of us are people. Race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, that doesn't matter. We're all people. And in Iowa, I hope they come to learn that all of us are a community. We are a state, and I am proud to be here with my friends, my family. And I hope that you, as a council, understand how proud we are of you for taking this into account, taking us into account, and being there to represent us. Thank you.
Thank you. We love and celebrate each of you, so thank you for coming. I wanted to acknowledge we do have a new deputy city clerk. So welcome to council as your first meeting, so I wanted to acknowledge that. We're going to move on to our consent agenda, items 3 through 8. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Harmson.
No.
Second- Oh,
By Mo?
Mo. All right. Seconded by Salah. Anyone from the public like to address items 3 through 8? If you're online and you want to chime in, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion.
I just want to bring up that 7B, which is the motion setting a public hearing for Governor Street, is we're already receiving questions, I think, to our council email about that. I would appreciate, if possible, if we could get some advanced, perhaps an IP, in the IP information packet, information on what R3B zoning is, because that is kind of part of the decision-making for this upcoming zoning decision. It's a very complicated thing. We aren't looking at all of our current zoning plans. We're looking at a more complicated thing with lots of legal history.
Happy to do so.
Hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Teague,
Yes?
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Mo,
Yes.
Salah.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 9 is community comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that are not on our agenda. Because this hasn't been properly noticed, we will not be able to engage in discussion. And only in-person comments will be allowed. And you'll be allowed 3 minutes. So welcome. Please state your name and city you're from. Yes.
Great, it works. Hi, my name is Dr. Emma Denny. You all know me by now. You heard from trans youth today how much it matters that this council fight for them, how much it matters that you stand up when their state has gone after them with genuinely unprecedented threats. The law that Iowa just passed is the first time in the history of our country that rights have been stripped away from people. And I am here today to ask you a question. What are you going to do? When these kids are renting apartments in the future and their landlords say, no, sorry, you're trans, try elsewhere, what are you going to do? When they get fired from their jobs for being who they are, when I get fired from my job for being who I am, what are you going to do? You signed a Trans Day of Visibility proclamation today. Visibility without protection just puts a target on our backs, a target that actual fascists have gladly taken up. We have a word for people who enable fascists, and it's fascist. What are you going to do? I have a couple of ideas. We feel isolated here in Iowa. We feel forgotten by groups like the ACLU and other national organizations who are meant to fight for us but feel that the legal ground in this state isn't viable for them. We can direct our city attorney to be part of this fight. We can join this fight as a city. It's our duty, frankly, as every citizen, to stand up for people when fascists come after them. So what are you going to do? I came here a year ago today, well, not today, but a year ago, this proclamation saying the same thing. What are you going to do? And we got words, we got singing at the Capitol, and I lost my civil rights. The state gave you a timeline. It's July 1. This law comes into effect. So what are you going to do? Thanks.
Thank you. Oops. Welcome.
Hello.
Please state your name and city you're from, and there is a sign in.
Yeah, I already signed in earlier here.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Gerhardt. I live at 51304 Rabbit Creek Road. I've been a longtime resident of Iowa City. I came earlier for the work session and saw two presentations by developers that want to develop 21 Lynn Street. They're both great presentations. I come from the construction industry, and for 14 years I was president of the Iowa State Building and Construction Trades Council. I like both presentations, but what I'm going to like more is to find out if they're going to use local building tradesmen and women, if they're going to pay a living wage, and if they're going to utilize registered apprentice programs. I was here when the Rise was built down off of Court Street, and I watched while an out-of-state contractor used out-of-state workers to build that, and I happened to be there on the outside of the property during a job action day when the tower crane lifted a bundle of plywood over the sidewalk and on Court Street, and it wasn't rigged right, and the sheets of plywood came off like a deck of cards and landed on the sidewalk. Now, no one was hurt, but it was a public sidewalk, and I just think that we have to, if we use local people, local building tradesmen and women, pay them a living wage, make sure they use our apprentice programs, we're going to get a safer project and a more economic impact here in Iowa City. So I'm actually excited by what I saw in the work session. I think that's a great use for 21 Lynn Street. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. That thing is always so tall. Hi, my name's Storma Brink, and I work in Iowa City. Most of you already know me. This isn't my first time coming in here. You know that I'm a trans activist in town. You know that I'm on the board for the Iowa Trans Mutual Aid Fund. And the question that I have for you right now is, are you serious? We accosted you multiple times in the spring, last spring, a year ago, en masse, about doing concrete actions that will protect the trans community, concrete actions. And you're issuing another proclamation, which, while the sentiment is nice, and we do appreciate that, it functionally does nothing to protect trans people in Iowa City during a time where we are actively being targeted by state and federal government. We saw no movement from this council in protecting trans people, and things got significantly worse since last spring. Some of you were at the Capitol and witnessed it. We no longer have our civil rights. We have an impending bathroom ban. They've revoked our right to have accurate identification documents. Several of my friends cannot get their passports returned due to their gender markers being changed and are effectively trapped inside the country. Marco Rubio issued a guidance that restricts transgender travelers from obtaining visas to the United States. The Department of Homeland Security removed restrictions on surveilling people exclusively because of their sexual orientation and gender identity. And while, yes, many of these things are at the state or federal level, these are all things that you can do concrete things to protect us about. Guys, you already have a target on your back. I know you said that you could do nothing last spring to protect us from local law enforcement targeting us because you feared it would result in the state taking away the funding for the city. You're worried that they're going to take away city funding if you stand up for us, and we're worried that they're going to erase us, to ban us from public life, to take away our access to health care, and to kill us. And they are already on the pathway to do that. That is happening. Form a committee about it. Talk to your trans constituents. I will reiterate myself that we are willing to accept any concrete action. You have my email, some of you. You know how to contact me. You know who I am. Just talk to us. We are your constituents. If you want to support us, you need to be brave, which means that you need to disrupt, and that's what allyship looks like. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a sticker to put in the basket or your name? Yep, thank you. Yep. Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
Good evening. My name is Ray Nepple. My wife Marlene and I live here in 2438 Walden Court. Had the privilege of serving as the city mayor in the small town of Templeton for 2 terms. So I know what government is all about, and I think government needs to take a little lesson here. I was here on June 20th, 21st to presentation in regard to the sidewalk settling, the street settling, and 24 of the condo owners. 48 days passed, and I heard nothing from our city officials, which is sad. This isn't the way government is supposed to work. The election was November 5th. It's time to dig the bones and start working for the people. It's disgusting to have to come back here and do a dog and pony show just to get something done. It's not right. We received 2 inches of rain this last 2 weeks. Today, 23 out of those 26 condos have street settling in front of them. 10 of the condos have water settling after the 2-inch rain. The street is settling. Our sidewalk has settled 2 inches in the last 6 years. I presented everything to the city council. I give them a 20-page book to review prior to the meeting. It contained everything that happened in the last 6 years, and I didn't even get a thank you. Pauline Taylor was here on my behalf. I reached out to her several years ago. I called her on a Saturday, and I said, when could you come? She said, how about in 2 hours? I wish I could get that from our existing government today. Maybe she should be on the board. Maybe we'd get better representation to take care of our citizens and our people. It's really sad. We got an ordinance that says the grass cannot grow longer than 10 inches. The grass is 19, 20 inches tall in the area around us. We take nothing to pick up the dead trees. The dead trees have laid along Rohart Road for a year and a half. It's disgusting. Marlene and I walk up to Weber every day in the summer, and it's disgusting to see that the city doesn't take any more pride than that. I also went out to Mid-American Basement in 2019 to try and get the sidewalk issue alleviated. They sent me a copy of the concrete book. I called them back the other week and sent me 5, so you can have your personal copy, and hopefully you can take it home and review it and get a better education of what it's all about in the concrete world. I shouldn't have to come up here every month to plead your case. I've done what you've done. I received the Governor's Leadership Award when I was mayor of the city of Templeton in the 2 terms. You don't get that by sitting on your behind. And you shouldn't have to be an ostrich and be on the city council and stick your head in the sand when you don't like it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, no, closing comment.
Did you?
I did try to get him
sorry.
extended.
Sorry. Yep, thank you. Did you sign in or have a sticker? If you can place a sticker or sign the document, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Thank you.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Please state your name and city you're from, and did you sign in?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't come down here very often, but my name is Chad Campion. I live at 3015 Pinecrest Road in Iowa City, which is in District B. I'm a sixth-generation resident of Iowa City. I am also a union electrician. I've built a lot of the buildings that are here in Iowa City. And currently I work for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 405. We have 1,200 electricians doing business in the corridor between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. We were chartered in 1907 when they built McBride Hall. So we've been here for a while. My office is at 105 Iowa Avenue above Iowa Book, so stop by and say hi. I was here for both presentations today of the lot on Lynn Street. It's funny, I always remember it as the First National Bank drive-through. So I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize that the two different proposals were drastically different. I think like in their aims and all this kind of stuff and everything. And I heard one of the presenters mention local, you know, and it's funny how local can take on a lot of different shapes. What my impression of local as being might be different than yours. And, you know, I used to define it as, well, you pay taxes in Iowa City, you're local, or your kids go to school in Iowa City, you're local, or this or that. But I think it takes on many shapes or forms. But I guess what I'm getting at, I want to echo what Bill was saying earlier. We take local different ways, and I would encourage you to encourage them to build local. It's one thing to hire a contractor who lives down the street from you or whatever, this and that. That doesn't mean he hires local people. You know, my best advice would be, there's always construction going on in Iowa City, all over the place, the schools, the university, this and that. Walk through one of the jobs, walk around one of the jobs, stop by the general contractor's trailer, look at the license plates, and see if they're local. Are they hiring local people to build these buildings? We get so far with the local thing and then it just falls off. We have a lot of problems with people that don't pay benefits on employees and this and that. It's happening in Iowa City. So I guess I would just echo what Bill was saying, plus I would add the extra local. You know, I built a lot of these buildings in Iowa City. I'm very proud of those. And being in the trades is a great thing, and it's given me a lot of opportunities, and I want to share that with everybody else and make Iowa City great. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address a topic item that is not on our agenda? Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
My name's Cole Eckhart, 3000 Parkview Avenue, Iowa City. Yeah, just to kind of echo what they've been kind of talking about. You know, the city already funds a pre-apprenticeship program to show its dedication to hiring local workers, union workers for these type of jobs. And so I think that this is like a great opportunity for you guys to just further show your dedication to that, to make sure that we're hiring locally so that like we can get apprentices like me and you know other people within the union building trades to get these jobs so that we can get them built safely and properly and help educate apprentices and further their work experience so that they can continue to thrive. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you. And you did sign in earlier as well. Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to address the item that is not on our agenda? Seeing no one, I'm going to close our community comment time. Thanks to everyone that came to speak. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our regular agenda, our regular formal agenda 10. And 10A is Building Code Update. Ordinance amending Title 17, Chapter 1, Building Code by adopting the International Building Code 2024 edition, including Appendix K and the International Residential Code 2024 edition, including Appendix BE and Appendix BO, and providing for certain amendments thereof and adopting Section 103.6 of the Code of Iowa and Section 105.4 of the Code of Iowa to provide for the protection of the health, welfare, and safety of the residents of Iowa City. I'm going to open the public hearing and welcome Danielle.
Thank you, Mayor. Danielle Sisman, Neighborhood and Development Services. You always get to read the fun descriptions. Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Tonight, we're here to adopt the three-year update to the I-codes. The ICC is an organization that adopts model codes or promulgates a model code, which the city then adopts. The city adopts a model code rather than create our own, as do most jurisdictions in the country. The I-codes, as I said, are developed on a 3-year cycle, so this is a 3-year update to that. The 3 years the refresh of the codes allows for expertise of hundreds of building and safety experts across the country, allows us to capture lessons learned from prior disaster events and new building science, as well as climate research and new technologies and practices. I think you heard about some of those new technologies and practices during your work session when mass timber was brought up as a building technique. Mass timber is one of those new materials that this version of the I-codes actually incorporates and makes an acceptable building material rather than maybe being proposed as a new material and having to go through an extra process. This makes it a standard practice. Included in your packet tonight is a memo from Tim Hennis, our senior building inspector, which highlights the notable changes between the last version, the 2021 version, and this version, which is the 2024 edition of the code. There are very few significant changes. They were outlined in his memo. They're mostly just local amendments that simply maintain our existing practices. One of those existing practices is a segment where we've adopted universal design standards. We call them visitability standards, basically ensuring that homes are set up from the beginning to allow adaptations for people with mobility impacts to continue to live in their homes. So we have done that for a long time and continue to do that as practice here. So I said maintaining those existing practices. The proposed changes were developed in collaboration with other jurisdictions in our area in the Iowa City and Cedar Rapids corridor to ensure that there's consistency between different jurisdictions so that builders and contractors working in different jurisdictions know what to expect. We've also informed our local home builders association of these code changes. And the Board of Appeals at their public meeting on February 7th voted to recommend them as well. So Tim's here with me if you have any specific questions. Following me will be another agenda item to address the fire code. So I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Just had one quick question, and that would be, I know different jurisdictions deal with the state codes specifically related to energy, accessibility, plumbing, and like, for example, the accessibility code, we do not adopt that section in IBC. Some jurisdictions do, but there's an overlap. Let's just talk through the reasoning behind that.
The reasoning behind that is that the federal government hands down the accessibility standards to the state hands it down to the local. And what we've chose to do over the last 30 years is to not interject another layer in there and to just amend that out and go with what the state says, which is what the federal says. So if you design and build to the federal standards and state standards, you're good with us.
Yeah.
So we just don't want to add that another layer
It's
in there.
it's just a duplication that
Right.
we're not choosing to participate in.
To play that, yeah.
No, I'm familiar with it being that way since as long as I've been in Iowa City.
Yeah.
So anyway, just
Yep.
a thing that was worth putting in the public.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve or to give first consideration?
So moved, Mo.
Second, Burgess.
Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Alter.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Salah.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. We're on to item 10B, Fire Code Update. Ordinance amending Title VII, Chapter 1, Fire Prevention and Protection by adopting the 2024 edition of the International Fire Code to regulate and govern the safety guarding of life and property from fire, explosion, life safety risks, or health hazards. I'm going to open the public hearing and welcome.
Good evening, Council. Troy Roth, Iowa City Fire Department. I am your fire marshal. Tonight, I bring you an ordinance moving the city from the 2021 International Fire Code to the 2024 International Fire Code. The International Fire Code is an I-code developed by the International Code Council. These model codes are published on a 3-year cycle. The proposed ordinance includes the most recent edition of the International Fire Code, along with local amendments. These local amendments reflect a new level of collaboration between the metro area fire marshals to create continuity in our communities. The cities of Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty, and Tiffin have taken efforts to closely align our local fire code amendments so that a contractor is less likely to find different rules in different towns. The International Fire Code and the International Building Code refer to each other, and for that reason, Iowa City has always tried to keep each code on the same cycle. Your packet includes a memo detailing notable changes. Very few significant changes went into this code. The Board of Appeals, at their public hearing on February the 7th, 2025, voted to recommend approval of the ordinance as proposed. State law requires a public hearing on the adoption of a model code. Staff is recommending the adoption of the 2024 edition of the International Fire Code, along with local amendments. A copy of the ordinance and the International Fire Code are on file in the city clerk's office.
Any questions?
Yeah, I noticed in your memo that the updated fire code does address batteries.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the
Certainly.
risks of them and how buildings might look different?
This is the first time it's been addressed. Clearly, as a city and as a nation, we support the use of battery-powered mobility, whether it's the micro-mobility or clear up the cars and our buses. However, fires do happen with the lithium-ion batteries, and it mostly happens during the charging. So this specifically safeguards multifamily residences, the apartment complexes, and puts some rules on where they can be charged and how. Special protections on rooms made to charge the mobility devices. Nothing in the code restricts the use of the devices. It simply tries to safeguard life during the charging of these in apartment complexes.
There are no other questions. Thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? Please raise your virtual hand if you're online. Seeing no one in person or online, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to give first consideration?
So moved. Alter.
Second, Saleh.
Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Burgess.
Yes.
Hermson.
Yes.
Moe.
Yes.
Saleh.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We're on to item 10C, 11.3 million general obligation bonds. Resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 11.3 million general obligation bonds of the City of Iowa City, State of Iowa. I'm going to open the public hearing and welcome.
Hi, Jacqueline Flegel, Assistant Finance Director. So I'm going to cover 5 items, 10C through 10G. The 5 items covered, the first 4 are public hearings that will allow for the next steps of issuing our GO bond, and then the last item being a resolution authorizing the GO bond pre-tax levy. Just to go over a quick timeline of the whole bond process. The last meeting is when you set the hearing for today, where we'll go over those 4 public hearings and then the pre-levy authorization. The next steps would then to be our bond rating call with Moody's April 14th, followed by your April 15th meeting, resolutions to direct advertisement for the sale of the bonds and to approve the official statement. May 6th, we will receive and open the bids, followed by the resolution authorizing issuance of bonds, and then we would plan to close the sale of the bonds on June 3rd. Here is listed the 2025 GO bond projects. You would have seen all of these as part of the bond process so far, and then below these noted amounts are just the bond proceeds portion of the projects. Some of them have extra expenses, but these are just the bond portion. The 4 projects listed with asterisks at the end are general corporate purpose. So those have to have separate resolutions. And the state limit for general corporate purpose bonds is $1,335,100, which is why we have the 3 extra hearings there. And you'll also notice that if you do the math and add up all of these numbers here, it does not actually add up to the 14,535,100 noted on the first slide. The difference is related to the bond issuance costs there for that small difference. So as I noted, all of those projects were included as part of the amended budget and 5-year CIP, incorporated into current and future tax levy projections, and then our bonds are sold as part of a competitive bidding process. This covers items 10C through 10G on the agenda. Any questions?
How much does the state of the current economy affect the sales of bonds? Have we seen a big fluctuation in times when the economy is doing poorly? And my guess is that the bonds actually do better when the market's doing poorly, but I don't know that.
Usually that's when we kind of rely on our municipal advisor to kind of tell us how, like, what they're seeing with bids that are going out. I think the biggest effect would be interest rates that come back on the bonds we issue.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one online or in person, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So move, Saleh.
Second, Mo.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Saleh?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. 10D, we have $1,335,100 general obligation bonds, resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $1,335,100 general obligation bonds of the City of Iowa City, State of Iowa, and providing for publication of notice thereof. I'm going to open the public hearing. And would anyone like to address this topic from the public? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Mo.
Second, Burgess.
Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Mo?
Yes.
Saleh?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter? Sorry?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 10E, $1 million general obligation bonds, resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $1 million general obligation bonds of the City of Iowa City, State of Iowa. I'm going to open the public hearing. And would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Say no one in person or online. I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Mo.
Second, Harmson.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Saleh?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. 10F, $900,000 general obligation bonds, resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $900,000 of general obligation bonds of the City of Iowa City, State of Iowa. I'm going to open the public hearing. And would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. See no one online or in person, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Alter.
Second, Burgess.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Saleh?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 10G is 2025 Gold Bond Pre-Levy Authorization, GO Bond. Resolution authorizing the issuance of $14,535,100 of general obligation bonds, Series 2025, and levying a tax for the payment thereof. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So move, Burgess.
Second, Mo.
All right. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? Online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one online or in person, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Saleh?
Yes.
Teague.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Item 10H, parking for people with physical disabilities. Ordinance amending Title 9 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 4 entitled Parking Regulations, Section 11 entitled Parking for People with Physical Disabilities to define the required access aisle as a part of the parking space. This is first consideration. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved. Mo.
Second, Burgess.
All right, and welcome, Kent.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kent Ralston, Transportation Planner. As many of you know, ADA accessible parking spaces include specific features such as marked access aisles that lead to curb ramps and help those folks parking in those spaces get to the facilities they need. This ordinance makes clear that the marked access aisle for an ADA accessible parking space is considered part of the actual parking space itself. And then the fines and tickets that are subject to the actual parking space itself also applies to that access aisle. There's some ambiguity in the existing code language, and this ordinance seeks to provide some clarity. So just a little bit of housekeeping in my mind. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Has this been a problem? Has somebody done this in the past?
It has happened downtown, just up the street on Washington Street. Unfortunately, while I think the blue paint for the handicap stalls helps tremendously, I think it also maybe created some unintended consequences, and I think maybe folks don't realize that this access aisle is part of those. So it has happened, and it's a difference of either a $200 fine or, say, like a $20 fine for parking in a space you shouldn't be in. So having said that, I will say that they're all actual signed with a physical sign as well, and they're, I would say, pretty clear about where you should and shouldn't be parking. So
Thank you for closing this loophole.
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Say no one online or in person. Council discussion. I'll just say I think this is great that this was acknowledged. Individuals that have physical disabilities, they also need that space depending on if they have a wheelchair van that they need to get out. So this is important that people do not park or anything in those spaces. So thanks for noticing and making this suggestion. Council, I guess we're going to go to roll call.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Sella.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. 10I, assessment schedule.
Did we make a motion on that before we voted? Did I just miss it?
We did.
Yes. Okay,
thank you.
Councilor Mo made the motion,
Thank you,
seconded
sorry.
by Councilor Burgess.
Yes.
Good checking. 10I, assessment schedule. Resolution adopting an assessment schedule of unpaid mowing, cleanup of property, snow removal, sidewalk repair, and stop box repair charges, and directing the city clerk to certify the same to the Johnson County Treasurer for collection in the same manner as property taxes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Alter.
Second.
Second, Burgess.
All right. Y'all duked it out. I like it. All right. Public discussion. Anyone online like to address this? Please raise your virtual hand. See no one in person or online. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Harmson.
Yes.
Mo.
Yes.
Sella.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Can I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So moved. Mo.
Second, Harmson.
Roll call, please.
Mo.
Yes.
Sella.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Harmson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We're on to announcements of vacancies previous. 11A, Civil Service Commission, one vacancy to fill a four-year term, April 7, 2025 through April 1st, 2029. Community Police Review Board, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Housing and Community Development Commission, two vacancies to fill an unexpired term. Applications must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Airport Zoning Commission, one vacancy to fill a 6-year term. Board of Appeals HVAC Professional, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Historic Preservation Commission Jefferson Street, one vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission Woodlawn Avenue, one vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Vacancies will remain open until filled. We're on to item number 12, which is city council information.
I just wanted to say that the Historic Preservation Annual Awards was wonderful. I have meant to go there in the past, but finally made it this time, and it was truly lovely to see just a community that put the elbow and love into it, the work, and the results were phenomenal. It was a really lovely award ceremony. Also, the mayor and I held a listening post at the public library, and while it wasn't jam-packed, it was steady, and we spoke with constituents the entire time. Topics ranged from actually the piece that we hopefully will get that IP memo on in the future, and the reparceling, rezoning for Governor and Dodge. We also, there was some inquiries about some tree removal down by the Iowa River around Highway 6 at the bridge. And then some questions about license plates and registration tags and the lack thereof.
Yes.
Why the police are not necessarily stopping people when that is showing. And, oh, no, I think I covered it.
Yeah.
That was about it. But because there weren't a ton of people, we were able to have sort of in-depth conversations
Yes.
to find out what concerns were. So that was good. Councilor Moe talked about the comprehensive plan. I did want to mention, actually, it's separate from city commissions, but I'm on the Iowa City Early Childhood of Johnson County. Board.
Closer, please.
Oh, sorry. And it turns out, actually, it went to the state today. There is discussion, rather than it being so disparate among different counties, that it would move to districts and significantly consolidate and therefore make the Early Childhood Iowa boards much smaller in terms of quantity. It would be actually serving a large number of counties. And so there is some concern that, the specificity of each area locally is not going to be served as well. So just keep an ear and an eye out for that. We are going to be merging with a great number of other counties and areas, and Lynn County in particular. I think it's as part of the streamlining and trying to eliminate excess bureaucracy, but as we know, sometimes one size fits all doesn't necessarily work. So that change is slated to happen a year from now, but there are some discussions about ways to continue to advocate at a very specific Johnson County level by looking at ways that we may be able to connect and merge some common interests with another nonprofit here in the county. So there will be information on that, but we're hoping that we're still going to be able to do things like car seat programs and helping with cribs and bed safety and just things that are local and necessary for our area by continuing on in a slightly different path than these larger merges. So I just wanted to let people know kind of what was going on with Early Childhood Iowa. That's it.
Say thanks to the Johnson County United Nations Association for hosting the Night of a Thousand Dinners. I think I saw Councilors Burgess and Salah and Mayor Teague were all there. It was a wonderful meal, wonderful presentation celebrating International Women's Day. Also wanted to thank my colleagues who took the time 2 weeks ago, to travel to Des Moines to speak against HSB 242. So I think it was important that you were there, so thank you very much for traveling, and I hope that the public got to see the statement that our whole council issued regarding that terrible bill. Also, for those on the Economic Development Committee, we have a meeting coming up on April 2nd that I cannot attend, and I think our city manager will be reaching out for potential alternate dates. So it'd be easier to email you, but in the spirit of that even being a quorum email, I just will have our city manager take care of it.
Thank you, Counselor.
I just want to say to the Muslim community in Iowa City, happy Ramadan. I'm fasting. Please make it quick. Let's again. The sunset will be like 6:09.
7:09.
Thank you. 7:09, I mean.
The African American Museum.
And also, yeah, we have really great time. The mayor and I, we went to Cedar Rapids to visit the African American Museum. They have a new executive director. She's amazing. Yeah, it was really nice event. Yeah, a lot of people come. It was nice. And the same day of the 1,000, we came from there to that.
Congratulations to the Prusel School of Music, just celebrating their 50th anniversary. Mayor Teague and I were there for their presentation and a concert on Saturday night at the Englert with a former student who now is a world-renowned concert pianist, amazing, but started with them when he was 3, if I remember correctly, from their program. And so it was a very special night. And so.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 13, report on items from our city staff. City Manager's Office.
Nothing.
City Attorney.
I'll just speak on behalf of several of the staff members seated over here. I'm glad to have reached the first funnel week. Looking forward to the second.
Yes. All right, and our City Clerk Office.
Yeah, Mayor Teague already mentioned it, but I want to welcome the new Deputy Clerk, Ulisa Vargas.
Yes, wow.
Welcome, welcome. Absolutely. You must be a good luck charm because we're going to be getting out here soon. All right. Item number 14 is adjournment. Could I get a motion, please?
I would be happy to do that motion.
Second.
Moved by Salas, seconded by Burgess. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Good night, all.